Hi everybody. So my name is Chelsea DeLucia, and I'm going to be talking to you about domestic violence. That's what I chose for my paper topic. But I didn't do domestic violence just solely speaking on women. I did domestic violence and every population of people it affects, along with talking about the different types of domestic violence and abuse that occur, having knowledge of how to tell if you're in a domestic violence situation, um, also of why I picked the topic of domestic violence, along with the statistics and services that are provided to victims of domestic violence and how they have a beneficial impact on the population they serve. If there are moments where I take pauses, bear with me. I am reading my PowerPoint to you guys because I was unable to figure out how to insert the sound into it. So I'll be doing a lot of reading off of what I was going to present to you guys in a PowerPoint. Also, bear with me. I have a newborn, so if there's moments of silence, bear with me. But domestic violence also can be known as intimate partner violence, IPV. Um, you know, Domestic abuse or relationship abuse, all those terms are fine. They mean the same thing. Is a pattern of behaviors used by one partner to maintain power and control over another partner in an intimate relationship. Domestic violence does not discriminate against anyone, race, age, sexual orientation, religion, or gender, and can be, you know, it involves a victim and a perpetrator. Um, and it can happen to people who are married, people who live together, people who are dating and in a relationship. It's, it a personal relationship that you have with somebody can result into some form of domestic violence or abuse. Quickly, I chose this topic primarily because I am a victim of domestic violence myself. I was in a relationship with somebody and I wasn't knowledgeable enough to spot the risk factors or to even think that I myself was in a domestic violence situation until I got out of it and I learned more about it. And, unfortunately, that's the case in many people's relationships. They don't know what risk factors to look out for or know that domestic violence doesn't just include physical harm. There's way more to it. So, excuse me, with that being said, I figured that with my experience and becoming knowledgeable about it, that's why I wanted to write about it. So now I'm going to talk about the different types of domestic violence. So the first and the most common type is physical abuse. Which physical abuse is any physical aggressive behavior. It can involve withholding physical needs, indirect physical harmful behavior, or a threat of physical abuse. This includes hitting, kicking, biting, slapping, pushing, pulling, punching, choking, beating. Um, Withholding physical needs can include, meals, denying money, transportation, not providing help if you're sick or injured. This all can be, under the same category as physical abuse. The next one is sexual abuse, and sexual abuse is an exploitation or forcing sex on another person. Having consented to sexual activity um, does not, include under sexual abuse, but it's essentially forcing someone to be intimate with you against their will. Um, Third is emotional abuse. Emotional abuse is any behavior that is exploited for another's vulnerability, insecurity, or character. So, insulting or criticizing, and we're not talking about positive criticism, we're talking about negative, um, you know, negative criticism that can affect with someone's emotional well-being and self-confidence. This can include public humiliation, um, you know, threaten to reject, accusing directly, indirectly, brainwashing, manipulation, intimidation, degrading is all under emotional abuse. The next one is controlling. Controlling behavior is a way to maintain dominance over a victim, and that can be controlling where they go, who they're with, how long somebody's out for, monitoring the phone, not allowing someone to have the freedom to wear their hair a certain way, to dress a certain way, um, having control over someone's everyday doing is a part of domestic violence. Another popular part of domestic violence would be verbal abuse, and of course, that consists of threatening, name calling, anything verbally said to put somebody down would be under verbal abuse. Economic abuse. Economic abuse is, holding funds, not providing any money, um, you know, uh, sorry, bear with me for a second. Um, just limited access to funds and essentially, for example, like me having to go through my partner to get any type of money. Um, Stalking is also a part of domestic violence because it is compromising a person's feeling of safety. Um, so stalking has also been included into, domestic violence, and it is essentially a part of it. Signs of you being in an abusive relationship. A lot of the times, if you are able to answer any of these questions that you ask yourself, you may want to consider, talking to somebody, because you might be in what would be a domestic violence situation. Um, do you feel afraid of your partner much of the time? Do you avoid certain topics out of fear of angering your partner? Do you feel that you can't do anything right for your partner? Believe that you deserve to be hurt or mistreated? Wonder if you're the one who is crazy, feel emotionally numb or helpless? If you're able to ask yourself any of those and the answer is yes, you might want to take a look at things. Does your partner humiliate you or yell at you? Do they criticize you or put you down? Threaten you so badly that you're embarrassed for your friends or family to see? Um, and I'm sorry, it wasn't threaten, it was treat you so badly. Um, Blame you for their own abusive behavior. Um, do they see you as property or a sex object? Again, if you're able to answer any of these questions, you might want to consider. Also, too, does your partner have a bad or unpredictable temper? Have they hurt you or threatened to hurt you or kill you? Destroyed your belongings? Threatened to commit suicide if you leave? Again, all things to think about if you're wondering if maybe you or someone you know is in a domestic violence situation or an abusive situation. Um, so those are the types of domestic violence. Now I'm gonna go into the statistics. Um, with the topic of domestic violence, a lot of times people just think it affects women. It affects women. It affects men. It affects people of the LGBTQ plus community. It affects children, and it affects elderly. So, like I said in the beginning, domestic violence does not carry a face or a particular population type. On an average, nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the United States um, during 1 year. 1 in 4 women and 1 in 9 men experience severe intimate partner physical violence. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men have experienced some form of physical violence by an intimate partner. 1 in 7 women and 1 in 25 men have been injured by an intimate partner. 1 in 10 women have been raped by an intimate partner. I didn't have a statistics on men for that. 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men have been victims of severe physical violence. 1 in 7 1 in 7 women and 1 in 18 men have been stalked by an intimate partner. On a typical day, there are more than 20,000 phone calls placed to the domestic violence hotlines nationwide. We're also going to go into the statistics of the children. 1 in 15 children are exposed to intimate partner violence each year, and 90% of these children are eyewitnesses to violence. 15.5 million U.S. children live in families which partner violence occurs at least once in the past year, and 7 million children live in families which severe partner violence occur. I'm sorry, give me one more second. In a single day in 2007, 13,485 children were living in a domestic violence shelter or transitional housing facility, and another 5,526 sought services at non-residential programs. I spoke about children. I'm also going to touch on the elderly. The elderly abuse which includes all the same aspects of regular abuse. Approximately 1 in 10 Americans aged 60 and older have experienced some form of elder abuse. Some estimate range as high as 5 million elders were or are abused each year. One study estimated that 1 in 14 cases of abuse have been reported. And many of the abuse comes from family members. Now, I've gone over my time of 10 minutes, but I'm still going to quickly touch on the benefits of domestic violence shelters. Overall, the benefit of the domestic violence shelters, and I should also mention the programs that are given or provided to victims, clients, survivors, have been beneficial for their overall well-being. The positivity promotes them to feel that they are receiving help. Almost all survivors that received help securing their own safety, 90% received help issuing a protective or restraining order, and 82% received help with divorce issues. Bear with me. 3/4 of survivors found employment or received job training. Shelters offered survivors some form of support and hope and the feeling of safety. 97% found support groups and crisis counseling to be helpful. 92% found individual counseling and parenting classes to be helpful. Domestic violence programs engage in a wide range of activities designed to positively impact the social and emotional well-being of both survivors and their children. Specifically, they work to increase survivors and their children's sense of self-efficiency, as well as their hope for the future, and directly increase their access to community resources, opportunities, and support, including social support. Consistent and bear with me. Okay, I won't read all that. But essentially, this shows that there is a positive outcome to services being provided for victims of domestic violence and abuse. I currently, right now, intern at a center which is called the Hope Family Justice Center for domestic violence and abuse victims, where they come down and We offer them one of our 24 partners to help provide services for them, such as legal aid, counseling, family counseling, individual counseling, housing, basic needs, anything that we can do to help them better their situation. And the center that I work at has only been open since August, and they've already helped over 600 people within the New Haven, Connecticut community get on their feet and essentially help them down the road to becoming survivors and overcoming their hardship. So I witness the positive impact every day that it has on society. And like I said, being a victim myself, these services weren't available or around or as popular as they are today that than they were when I was going through this. But like I said, I witnessed the change and the great outcome that it brings to people. And that is why I felt the need to write about this topic. I feel that we aren't fully educated on domestic violence outside of the physical aspect of it, the types of domestic violence, the risk factors to consider, and what to look out for as far as behaviors when in a domestic violence situation. I don't think people have enough education to know that there is a way out of it and that there are services that are helpful in providing help. So I hope you all enjoyed. I'm sorry I'm nervous. I don't do this type of thing, but thank you for your time, and I hope I taught you something.